Yes, as Silvio said, so I'm very happy to share with you today some insights, and because yes, 6 7 months ago the world was totally different, especially in e-commerce. A lot of things changed during the last months, and I'm gonna try to give you just few insights and few feedbacks about what happened for 24S. So of course, this is not like a market trends, and this is very specific to the luxury market. But I hope it's gonna help you to try to understand maybe the global situation for other merchants. But I will give you my feedbacks, especially for the luxury market. So just to start and just to be sure that you know our company, because this is a you really need to have some few details and some background informations before giving you feedbacks. So we are 24S. We are e-commerce, so luxury e-commerce, part of the LVMH group. We are based in Paris as the global group. As Silvio said, so LVMH is the biggest luxury group in the world. Some of the most famous brands are Louis Vuitton, Berluti, Rimowa, Celine, or Dior, for example. And it's very important for us to really grow on the e-commerce part, because the luxury market, for years now, it's always been a market focusing on offline. This is one of the industry starting to switch from offline to online years after some other industry. I think about, for example, cultural items like books or high tech. And a few years ago, LVMH understood that it was necessary to have a multi-brand e-commerce among the group, and that's why we've been. 24S was created. We launched the website 3 years ago. So compared to our competitors, we are really young, and this is a fact. But we try to move as fast as possible to catch up or late, and we think that this is before the COVID-19, it was clearly an opportunity for us because the market was evolving very fast. Just to give you an insight from a Forrester study back in 2018, the e-commerce penetration among the market was 8% at this time. And the forecast was around 25% e-commerce penetration in the luxury market in 2025. So of course, we think that the COVID-19 didn't change that, but maybe also accelerate this trend. Just to finish about the presentation of 24S. So as I said, 3 years, we are really connected to Paris and really connected especially to Le Bon Marché, which is the luxury department store in Paris, also part of the LVMH group. And at the very beginning of the project, the idea was really to create the spirit of Le Bon Marché, but online. But as I said to Silvio several times, and I know that sometimes it's difficult because everyone thinks that we are super connected, and sometimes people think that we are online and offline retailers, which is not the case for several reasons. Among the group, Le Bon Marché is the retailers and only offline, and on our side we are only online. That's why I'm going to talk only about e-commerce today. On the site, you can find more than 250 designer brands, from the most renowned luxury maison to the most emerging contemporary labels. And you have here a few examples of what we get on our sites. So as you can imagine, we are not exactly as we can. Our consumption behavior are not exactly what we can imagine when you think about purchasing clothes online, because we have a pretty high average order value because of the very luxury brands we have online. Just to give you some more details, we try to have the luxury experience you can find offline, but also online. That's why we have a 24/7 customer care in 8 languages worldwide, because we are really global destinations. We're shipping in more than 100 countries right now. Our top 10 countries are in US, US, Canada, of course, in the Americas. In Europe, it's the UK, France, and Germany. And in Asia, that's Australia, South Korea, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and China. That's why, and this is really specific to our business. When COVID-19 started back in January in China, we saw the impact and the effect of the virus and the impact on the economy at every step, and we saw the different impact in our Asian country at the beginning of the year, then in Europe, and then in the US. So that was interesting for us to have these multiple points. And thanks for us, it was really an advantage, because compared to others, e-commerce or retailers really linked to one market, one of our strategy was at this moment to focus on the market not so impacted at a really moment of the year. For example, in January and February, Asia impacted Hong Kong, Taiwan, a bit of South Korea also. That's why European and US went well. That was great for us, and we tried to focus our effort at this moment on Europe and US. After that, back in April, March and April, the virus hit Europe, and Europe starts to lockdowns. At this moment, Asia, the commerce re-emerged in Asia, and at this moment we try also to, after that, refocus our effort in Asia. So to talk about specifically and what we went through during the last months, I wanted to share with you what we call the European lockdown patterns. We try, because when we analyze the different countries, and when I say different countries, I talk especially about the UK, Germany, France, a bit also Italy and Spain, which are our biggest markets in Europe. And that was really incredible to see the almost exact same patterns happen in those different countries, and really related to when they start the lockdown. So we divide what happened in 3 phases. Phase 1, what we call the shock. It means it's day 0 to day 3, starting from when the lockdown starts, and it was as the name I think you understood, said this was a shock for everyone. People absorbed the news. Everyone were focused on the situations, listening. All the news about that, and really focus about what's going to happen in the next days, about what I'm going to do with my family, what I'm going to do with my work. So of course, people were not in the mood to buy non-essential items. Of course, a Louis Vuitton bag is not toilet paper, so there is really different consumption behavior at this moment. And on our side, we really saw a decrease of the demand, of the traffic, of the conversion rates, and more globally, decrease of the sale. We were not so surprised, but it was really an important decrease during the first 3 days. And this pattern was not exactly at the same time in the different countries. It started in Italy, and then France, and then Germany. Even if the lockdown was different in Germany and the UK, it was also a bit different because of it was a bit later, but also because of the rules for the lockdown. Then phase 2, we call that the recovery, from day 3 to day 15. It means 2 weeks after the lockdown started. And here we start to see, I mean, people start to, I mean, they absorb the news. They start to accept the status quo as the new reality, and they start to say, okay, I know I'm gonna be, I mean, I have to stay at home for the next weeks. I don't know until where exactly, until when, but I have to stay at home. And they start to accept that. They start to take new habits, and fear start to decrease. Of course, it's been at this moment, fear was, everyone was a bit afraid and stressed, but days after days it started to not disappear, but it started to decrease. So at this moment we started to see the demand increasing, also the traffic and but even with that, at this moment the sales remain slower than previously. It was because even if people starting to get back to the site, they are not maybe 100% ready as they were before to purchase. 2 weeks after that, we call that the phase 3, all needs new habits. We talk a lot about the new world and what I mean, and everything's going to change. What was it was interesting to see that finally, and especially for us, because luxury goods, clearly it's not the kind of items you want to purchase when you're stuck at home. You can, yeah, I mean, basically maybe you need clothes, but in our mind we were not sure that people would like to continue to purchase luxury items. But finally, and it was the good surprise, of course, for our business, that people begin to adapt to new normal, and purchases was no longer only focused on the essentials, and strongly, of course, relying to e-commerce. And starting in April, we started to see a higher demand, higher traffic than before, higher conversion rate, higher AOV, and finally a really incredible boost for us in terms of sales. And it was also, of course, the effect. All the luxury stores were closed at this moment, so people started to discover that it was possible to buy luxury items online, and it was for us a really incredible boost at this moment. I'm going to take the France business case, and I had some graphics to just show you finally what I just present in the last slide. On the first graphic, you have the query volume in France on Google for our product. And it's, as you can see, mid-March, around 14th of March, you have a decrease. The drop was around 40%. And then it goes up days after days until early in April. And this is, of course, you have some bias because this is Google and this is the query volume based on our own product. But basically, this is the kind of graphic that we internally we consider as it reflect the reality for our industry. And on the right side, you have also the growth of two major KPIs for us, which is the conversion rate, CVR, and average order value, AOV. As you can see, we have back in January, our average order value and CVR, the growth was around 25% year on year. And in April, the growth was 50 to 75%. And this is not, the explanation is not something else. It's really because of the lockdown, because of COVID-19. So that was really clear for us that the situation, I mean, this is what the benefits of the situations. And as I said, with a higher traffic, a better CVR, and a better AOV, of course, at the end, the boost of sale was really good for us. I talk about Europe, and I just wanted to share with you, so the same graphic, but worldwide with some other countries. and to take the three different ones, so South Korea, France, and in the US, because everything I said was real for the Europe, but it was clearly not for all the countries. In South Korea, as you may know, that South Korea didn't start a lockdown, but start social started social distancing measures early in January and February. And on our side, as you can see, the graphic is totally different compared to France, because the boost was really in February at this moment, and then it decreased after that. We know that it's after that, even if the virus was was not super active in the country, but it's still there, it's still here, and they have the economic impact. No matter how you manage the crisis, when the world is hit, it's difficult to don't have any economic impact. So we suppose that in South Korea, they're facing, as always do, the impact of the economic impact of the COVID-19. And in the US, it was also different, with a really good growth in January, February, but it started to decrease in March. And as you can see, April, May, and June, they still not bad, but clearly it's the conversion rate. And the US is a really big market. It's our number one market for us, and we know that, which is specific to the US, it's the KPIs can be really different between cities. New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Boston, Chicago, San Francisco. We know that the situation could be really different in the different cities. And when I checked the data to be sure that the US vision was reflect the reality of the different cities, I checked, for example, New York, and I checked some other cities, and the data was exactly the same, meaning that even if some cities where the virus it was more active and made some more people infected and deaths in some cities. Globally, I think our analysis is that the overall, I would say, mood for luxury purchasing was not super good in the US. It's continued to be. It's not like a huge decrease, but it starts to be complicated in the US. We know that the situation, even in Europe, it's not finished at all, and we expect that, of course, our KPIs will not increase. Will not have a huge increase in the next weeks or in the next months. It's going to take a bit more time for that. So as I said, today we believe that COVID-19 lockdowns have accelerated e-commerce penetration in the luxury markets by up to 18 months. So of course we can have open a debate for that, but I got several discussions with agencies and some other partners, and everyone's agreed that around the global trend was the e-commerce penetration was is increasing in the luxury market. I think COVID-19 accelerated the e-commerce penetration around 1 year. So of course, when you are in e-commerce like us, that's a really good news. Even if the situation is not great in every countries, globally the trend is good. And finally, this is on our side, we have like balance between the positive and the negative impact of the crisis. We have on the side the positive impact is what I said about more new clients on e-commerce, and that people went on our website and they wanted to, even during the lockdowns, they wanted to purchase luxury items. But on the other side, no matter what's happened in the next weeks, we're gonna have an economic crisis. And of course, before to have the real effect, of course, people think about that and they start to change their purchasing behavior. So the two major effects, we have like a balance. So today, for example, globally this year at 24S, we're not considering, I mean, for example, we didn't increase the global objective of the year, but we didn't decrease also our global sales objective for this year. We think that it's going to stay the same as we plan early this year, but just not, not because there is no impact, but just because you have like it's balanced between the different impacts on our business. Just to finish with one last slide, just to sum up the 2020 forecast and what we have in mind in our side. So new e-commerce clients and new e-commerce consumer habits, which is really good because some of the people discovered that it was possible to buy luxury items online, and we are super happy about that because it's really complicated. It takes time and it takes a lot of money to explain to people that who have the habits to go offline and in stores to buy luxury items. So COVID-19 helped us for that. Of course, we expect that people postpone consumptions for shifting from Q2 from Q3 or Q4. So I think it's finger crossed for all the markets and all the economy in the world, and we know that it's going to be a major point for the future. For the future economic situation. At the worldwide scale, at the country scale, but also for 24S. And the last thing, and we are not, and we don't have to. We have to be honest with that. We know that most of our clients are high net worth individual, and we also know that this kind of crisis, of course, there are these kind of people that less impacted by this kind of crisis. Maybe not less, but at least not the first ones. So of course, for us, this is the good news. On the bad news, I would say about the forecast, global economic crisis affecting buying power. So that's a fact. COVID-19 not 100% under control at the global scale, and existing risk of second wave leading to potential future lockdowns. So even without any lockdowns in the futures, of course, a second wave would be a bad news. And we know that even if right now all the countries and all the businesses are focused on recovery and how to boost the sales and how to finish the year, we know that maybe in Q3 and Q4 we'll have to face the same situation as the first wave in spring. But yeah, we don't. Of course, we don't know, and we will have to adapt at this moment. And the last thing, and this is also really specific to our industry, supplier production issues with an impact on upcoming season collection. Even if on our side, business is starting to continue to run with not so bad results. The future impact for us will be the supplier production. If our brands are not able to produce as they're supposed to do, it could lead to less items available, less stocks, and of course, it's going to be harder for us to achieve our objective for the next season, meaning like fall, winters, and or even spring, summer 2021. So I expect that I hope that I give you some insight and some interesting feedbacks about what happened for 24S, and that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vandril. That was a great presentation, and thank you for giving us some great insights about the LVMH group. and also particularly your very successful e-commerce channel, 24S. We're going to go ahead and open it up to anyone who would like to ask a question. I'm going to start off with a few questions for Vandril about his presentation, but you can either chat your questions, and you can see a little chat icon in the bottom box of your screen on Zoom. By now, we're all experts in using Zoom. Also, you can unmute yourself and turn on your video and just mention your name and your company, and we'll be able to take your question directly. So Vandril, I really enjoyed just learning about the approach that you've taken, and also just learning about the key trends. That was really, really helpful. You talked about the pressures that retailers are going to have with the economy. A question that I have is, you have started to use card-linked offers for customer acquisition. My question is, do you think in the third and fourth quarter of the year that card-linked offers can have an impact on stimulating consumer demand? And I ask this in general, like, do you think card-linked offers can help stimulate demand for retailers? But I also ask, more specifically for upscale retailers. Do you think card-linked offers will help you acquire more upscale consumers, particularly in the third and fourth quarter, which is where the majority of purchases happen for most upscale retailers?
Yes, I think that the CLO can help to stimulate the future in Q4, because basically giving a cashback or discount, that the easiest way to do that. It's easy, and you have a really super fast results. So I would say yes. The other characteristic to take into account in this answer, it's the brand safety, because in the luxury industry also that's super important for us to be sure that when we propose an offer, even on 24S, we have to be sure that it's going to be brand safe for our own brand, but also for the luxury brand we have on our website. And for that, card-linked offers are great. Also because we're working with super well-known and partners. I mean, some of them are here. I think about, for example, MasterCard or American Express, for instance. So that's the kind of partners. And who offers brand safe communications. The only things to have in mind for that, and it was the case for, also before COVID-19, is be super careful to not give discount habits to the clients, because if we after COVID-19, everyone wants to stimulate the demand, everyone wants to boost the sales. It's super easy to say, okay, let's go discount for everyone, and a lot of e-commerce started discount just after the lockdowns. But if we propose that every time, and if we have card-linked offer every time in every market, people will start to say, we start to think, okay, I'm never gonna buy full price because I used to buy with a discount. So this is the only thing to take this, to have this in mind, because if we're not careful in 2020, we're gonna have the effect of that in 2021, 2022, etc.
Very helpful. I'm gonna go to a question from Discover, Brian Meyer. Brian, maybe we can open up Brian's line. He had a question about cross-border. Brian, are you there?
I am.
Okay, Brian, maybe you could just introduce yourself and your company, and then go ahead with your question.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Vandril, thank you very much for the presentation, and I think we're going to get a chance to chat later, too. Hopefully, everyone can hear me okay.
Yes, we can.
So my name is Brian Meyer. I'm the Director of International Marketing for Discover Global Network, part of Discover Financial Services. Question is more along the lines of some of the international spend that you may be seeing, based off of the impact, again, of everything that's been going on with COVID. Obviously saw the performance of what's happening with some of your domestic sites and appreciate that and the trends and everything. But there also is an opportunity for potential for international cards around the world to be coming to the .com sites, to be coming to some of the other domestic sites that you've set up. Are you seeing an impact, or are you seeing a trend with international cross-border spend, so to speak, as a result from everything?
I think because we were running, for example, CardLinx offer during the lockdowns, the trend was quite the same. I think, for example, about the US and also about Australia, so two different situations. But basically, the trend was almost the same. The lockdown has a direct impact on the sales and on the global spending at this moment. But after that, especially all the stores closed around the world, we saw a huge boost on e-commerce, and of course so for us on our business. I can tell you more about global card spendings, because I know that a lot of people saved a lot of money during lockdown. So at the end, globally, even only for the luxury markets, I don't know. But for us, the trend was the same as we saw globally.
Thank you.
Great question. I see another question from Frédéric Lapère from LCL. Frédéric, are you on? Maybe I can ask a question on Frédéric's line. Frédéric, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. Why don't you go ahead and pose your question?
Yeah, thank you, Vandré, for your presentation. I liked it. I just wanted to know whether the overall impact on sales, how it was on the first semester. Basically, did the boost in e-commerce compensate the drop in offline sales?
I'm going to be honest with you. So the 24S is only online, because even if we are like cousin or brother with Le Bon Marché, we're not the same company. So we don't have the figures of Le Bon Marché internally. But even without those data, I know the global context, and I can tell you that no, there is no compensation between online and offline. I got some friends also, and I talk specifically about French market, but at Fnac or Go Sport, for example, which is, high-tech and cultural items and sports items. And even if the e-commerce, they had a huge boost during the lockdowns, of course, the compensation was, it was a minor compensations if you think about all the revenue made offline. And I know what Le Bon Marché is able to generate in 2 months, and I can tell you that no, the compensation is not 100%. It's not balanced online.
Okay. Okay.
So
thank you.
I don't have precise figures, but this is the answer.
Okay, thank you. That answers the question. Thank you.
Great question, Frédéric from LCL, one of the largest card issuers in France, the former Crédit Lyonnais. We have another question here from the US. Aaron Warren from Rakuten. Maybe Aaron, if you could just introduce yourself and your company and pose your question, Aaron.
Sure. Hi, Aaron Warren from Rakuten. I'm the general manager of the Rakuten in-store network, and thank you for your presentation. On top of the impact of COVID-19 on your projections, are you anticipating any impact from the Black Lives Matter protests in the U.S. on global buying trends, especially given your comments on the importance of the U.S. market?
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good question. So we are not, of course, we are super careful about our communications in the US, and to be honest with you, it was of course a global subject at the LVMH scales, just to be sure that all the brands are correctly communicating at this moment, to try to avoid any issues or any misunderstandings because that's an important subject. And on our side, so as I said, that we have an impact on our performance in the US, but the thing is, the COVID-19 and Black Lives Matters, it's really, I would say, almost at the same time in the US, and maybe there is an impact, but today with the data I got, it's impossible for me to differentiate the impact of COVID-19 and Black Lives Matters. The only thing I can tell you, it's when it started, so it's I think a few weeks ago now, I didn't see like a drop in terms of demand or traffic. But as I said, we have like a global trend of decreasing conversion rate, but a bit complicated for me to say which part is related to Black Lives Matters and which part is related to COVID-19 in the US.
Yeah, great question. You know, I think 2020 is really shaping up to be the year of the unpredictable. So many different things between COVID-19, Brexit, Black Lives Matter protests, lots of really impactful variables that you have to manage. Vandril, I had a question about, you know, your decision-making process internally. As the world's largest luxury retail group, you have a lot of choices in terms of how you do digital customer acquisition. Can you take us inside the decision-making within 24S? How did you guys decide to first use card-linked offers for customer acquisition, you know, among all the other different marketing channels that you use? Did you make that? And really importantly, have you been pleased with the results of your card-linked marketing?
Yeah, from the very beginning, so back 3 years ago when we launched the website, the 24S strategy was really to focus on performance. So maybe one of the strategy was to launch a super huge media campaign at the very beginning, but it was not the case. We try to base our investments on they are performance based. So of course we did like everyone do search, affiliates, etc. But when we started to see to discover card-linked offer, for us it was a great opportunity because basically you don't have a lot of risk when you run this kind of campaigns. If it's not working at all, the cost is almost nothing or super low. And if it works really well, so of course the cost is super high, but it means also that we make a lot of revenue. So that's why CardLinx offer was. I think the decision was quite easy to make. The only thing that we a bit more complicated for us was really to try to forecast the global cost of CardLinx offers, because it's non-duplicate cost. And for example, when you have a card, if you want CardLinx offer, one client can get an offer from, let's say, MasterCard, and they can use, for example, our Google Shopping campaigns to go on our website. It means for us this a cost on Google. It's a cost also with MasterCard. So this is this kind of double cost we needed to forecast to be sure that what's going to be the level of ROI. Today, it's we try to have some experiences to do that, but it was the only thing really difficult and to take our decision. But after that, as I said, this is performance based, so that's quite easy to take the decision. And and sorry, to answer about the results, I'm going to be honest with you. We made millions with some campaigns, and some others we made zero. So that's really different, and that's why it's great to be on performance, because we are willing to launch and to test, But now we try to understand why sometimes it's successful and why sometimes a failure. It's really depend on the markets. It's depend on the partners. It's depend of the communication also for this kind of offer. It's depend also of the moments of the year. It starts to be really important. So there is different criteria. We start to know, and now we take our decision based on those criteria to, I would say, increase the success probability, but there is nothing sure. I was super surprised, for example, to run a CLO campaign in Australia, super successful a few weeks ago. For example, in Germany, it's working really well for us in Germany, but we run something in Germany, didn't really work. But there is a lot of criteria to explain that. So yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Vandril. I want to just thank you for an amazing keynote and also your great candor in answering the questions. There is a specific question that came in from my wife. I mentioned that we were going to be you were doing a keynote, and she wanted to know how to get the biggest discount on her next Louis Vuitton purse. But I might ask you that on offline because I know you don't like to discount. So.
Of course.
Vandril, thank you.
Give me a call, Silvio.
Okay, I'll give you a call. So everybody on the screen, you'll notice that on the bottom right, you'll see reactions. And so I just want to give Vandril a big thumbs up and also a hand clap. Thank you very much for a great keynote, Vandril. Thank you very much.